us a call at 612-504-8400 or always visit us online, havenfinancialgroup.com. We're talking today about taxes and estate planning, things that are not very exciting, but there is a peace of mind to know that you've done the best you could, whether you have a lot or a little. And, our last segment, it sounded probably like that, man, that's a lot to keep track of. And I don't know how we can do it on our own. You don't have to go it alone, and you don't have to do it on your own if you're working with somebody that is really looking at your specific unique individual situation. Kim, we had a couple, and I just thought of this, from Owatonna that came down in the last month. And they came out to a class that I had in Faribault, and we do them all over the cities. And they came in, they go, we've been working with an attorney, and we can't get anywhere. And then they don't work with the financial advisor. They don't work with the CPA or the accountant, and nothing is going. And I've seen a lot of things in all the years that I've done this, and they had one of the biggest mess I've ever seen, and they knew it. We had an ex-spouse in here who was a business partner with her life partner, and it was her, the female. They had a mess. They visited with Lance. They visited with me, the staff, with Lance, then our Carrie, our estate planning attorney, I would say several times. And you know what? They got results that they couldn't get for several years. And that's just one story of those that have really benefited from just taking the time to visit, because that's where it all starts. There's no cost to come in and visit with us.
612-504-8400. That's how you set up that first visit to see if this is a perfect fit for both you and for Haven Financial Group. So, gentlemen, let's talk, if we could, a little bit more about this tax issue and reducing gift taxes and inheritance taxes. Lance Larson is with us. He is a certified CPA with Haven Financial Group. So, Lance, let's talk about if you have people come in and they sit down with you and they say, Lance, here we are. This is what we've got. And we've got to figure out how we can start to transfer these dollars, but we don't want to pay these astronomical taxes. Walk us through how you start to do it.
So the first thing we want to do is try to figure out, where do we want the money to go to? Do we want money to go to kids, grandkids? What are we trying to pay for? I can give you a personal example. One of my mother's very prime desires is to make sure that all her grandkids go to college and can graduate debt-free. She wants that to happen so much. So for my mom's case right there, one of the big things for her was be able to say, hey, here's a 529 plan. Well, in the tax code, it allows us to front load a 529 plan with 5 years worth of gifting. So right now we're at $18,000. Next year is $19,000. So imagine we can put up almost $100,000 in each 529 plan for my mom's grandchildren. Mm-hmm. Well, that could be the one thing that we can look at for any of these clients here. Say, hey, we want grandchildren to go to college. Right there, $100,000 into that 529 plan. Mm-hmm. If you want to make sure that some kids can have money to help pay for Christmas right now, you know what? Mom and dad says, here, son, daughter, here's $36,000 that you can have to help have a nice Christmas for your family. Again, we're getting money out of the estate. We're gifting over to the kids because they will be the eventual beneficiaries of that money. So why wait until mom and dad pass away when they can do it right now?
There's also the idea of establishing a trust. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I will comment first on this because, we have those that are charitable. Now, I always say you don't give charitably for tax reasons, but if you are charitable, it can open up some good avenues for tax planning, especially in retirement. So qualified charitable distributions from those IRAs, if you don't need those withdrawals, charitable remainder trusts, donor advised funds, certain types of things that you can set up through your investments that can benefit you and the recipient. They can be highly effective, and they're not for everybody. The use of irrevocable trusts. Now, we want people to talk through these because they may benefit, they may not benefit. States may vary. There's people out there that say trusts avoid nursing home. Be very careful because oftentimes that's not true, and you want to make sure you're doing what's actually true rather than doing something that has no benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Family limited partnerships and other things like that. Again, a lot of these are state by state specific, and Lance could probably take that a little bit further.
So one of the biggest things with trust right there is if we're trying to reduce estate taxes, we need to have an irrevocable trust. By having an irrevocable trust, it means that we have given up control of the asset that is now owned by the trust, and therefore it is not going to be in our estate. That is the biggest way that we use trust right there. And that, like Larry said, you're going to make sure that the trust is actually going to do what you want it to do. Mm-hmm. I've had many people come up and say, hey, I have a trust, and therefore it's not going to be in my estate, only to find out that it was a revocable trust, which is actually included in the estate. And so that's one of the hard parts right there is you have to make sure you know what you have. And if you don't, that could lead to problems in the future.
Well, and I think this always goes back to the idea of having a partner in all of this. I think that you can hear trust and you think you've got the right thing and you think you've done the right thing. Or, for example, you guys have just said, that the amount of charitable donations will change in 25 that you can give each year. I mean, these are all the kinds of things that your office and all of you at Haven Financial Group stay on top of, and people need to know on a regular basis.
Couldn't agree more, Kim. Notice there is a direct coordination and link to estate planning, tax planning, your money. They're all connected, and they go hand in hand. And Lance is our in-house CPA. We get him involved in many conversations with all varieties of folks. Carrie Anna and Keith are estate planning attorneys. They work very closely because, again, they go hand in hand, whether you have a little bit or a lot. And I wanted to point out that the current administration, they had some pretty wild ideas, in my opinion, about these things we're talking about today. The new administration coming in January, there's a good chance that they'll maintain these levels where the current one was going to lower these numbers significantly, causing the taxation to be even more viable. So these things do change, and having somebody that can keep you up to speed on these is so important. And when we're talking about gifting and doing these things and charitable, that doesn't mean you have to. Okay, be careful about. Don't give all your money away because you heard something on our show today. You may need this money for retirement. Maybe this is not applicable to your situation. You're not giving. The kids listening are going, boy, this sounds great. I'm going to get all this money. You should listen to the Haven Financial Group show. They're telling you how to give all your money to the kids or the grandkids. No, it's on a case-by-case basis. And even if it's just normal tax planning, you've heard me say this, Kim, we're big into forward tax planning. Even normal tax planning leads to tax preparation. And Lance does taxes, and he's very fair, and he's a CPA. His whole thing is he doesn't want Uncle Sam to get any more than they deserve. And I've never seen a CPA like to go to bat or go against the IRS, and he loves to win. And we all like to win, especially against Uncle Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's really important. And we talk about this all the time, Larry and Lance. I know you can certainly appreciate this as well. I always refer to it as one-stop shopping because you just pointed this out, Larry. When you walk in the door and you say, listen, I need to do something about my estate planning and I think I need to start gifting, I would imagine one of the first questions you would ask them was, well, are you set up for yourself for retirement? And then you'd ask questions like, for example, are you prepared if you would need long-term health care? And, is your medical insurance taken care of? And you'd start looking at all of these things so that they're all put together in a way that is most beneficial for an individual. And if you're just sort of cherry picking, then the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing.
So true. We've had hundreds come through that we've helped in Medicare in this annual enrollment process. Mm-hmm. Glenn and Isabella, and I can't tell you how many times I heard this. Oh, you guys have this here, and you have this here, and you have this here? Oh, we didn't know that. Wow. And that led to more conversations. Medicare, long-term care, estate, it's led to more conversations, and that is the whole goal here. Is you don't have to do everything under the same roof, but they should be working together. And I like your illustration. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. We can make this simple. even though it maybe seems very complicated, we can keep it very simple. But again, whatever your situation is, that's the discussion we're going to have. And oftentimes, when we ask people, do you have an estate plan? Well, no, we don't. That'll lead to conversation. Are your parents still with us? Do you expect an inheritance at some point? Do they have an estate plan? And if anybody's had to experience something negatively, like settling their mom and dad's estate, they know the importance of it. So if mom and dad are still here, maybe they're elderly, that maybe gives them time to, hey, mom and dad, you really need to do something to make sure that their stuff is done. So it's a trickle down from grandpa and grandma to mom and dad to kids to grandkids. Our kids, our daughters, Kim, are 23, 21, 21, and 18, all girls. Powers of attorney. We'll talk later in the show about why they need that, because they're adults. So again, sounds complicated. We're here to simplify it and hold people's hand. And at the end of the day, thrive in retirement, not just survive.
Lance is a very busy guy, and I know he needs to get back to work. But Lance, before we wrap this segment up, any final things you'd like to say when it comes to, gifting and inheritance tax and what people need to know?
The biggest thing I wanted to make sure everyone understands is that where is your money going, and is it going there in the most tax efficient way possible? And the best way to figure that out is by talking about it and saying, what are your goals? If you don't know what your goals are, well, then maybe it's time to sit down to figure out what they are.
You bet. 612-504-8400.